Well, now just a little bit of a moving in another direction, though, on the same theme. If you go to Sydney and go to Darling Harbour, on the eastern side of Darling Harbour, that's the first part, the part of Darling Harbour that was first built and the part closest to the city, you'll enter the restaurants and everything by walking up the steps. As you walk up the steps, there is a gigantic plaque at the top of the steps. And it's, I don't know what it's made from, looks as if it's made from pewter. And on that plaque is inscribed boldly a poem by an Australian poet. The poet's not Banjo Paterson or Henry Lawson or Henry Kendall or Dorothy McKellar or Judith Wright. The poet is Murray Hartin. Murray Hartin is a bush boy who the nation is increasingly getting to know. He is, in the tradition of Banjo Paterson, not just a balladeer, but a storyteller through poetry. He's a wonderful human being. He was once in one of my rugby sides. He wasn't a poet then, and suddenly this has branched out, and he's in enormous demand around the country. He tells the story seriously and sometimes funny, but brings great joy and pleasure to the kind of people in the communities that are represented here, as Angus said, divided and confused about why this is being done to them. So this is our latter-day Banjo Paterson, a magnificent balladeer and poet. Would you please welcome Murray Hartin?
Yeah, not a Rhodes Scholar, but I did go to Palomallawal kindergarten. And look, I don't pretend to be an expert on any of this, but one of my great mates is Charlie Arnott, and Charlie asked me to get involved, and I know Charlie to be a good bloke and an honest man, and a bloke who cares about the countryside. So I think that's what this is all about. It's not the things parading as green and people who care about the land trying to protect their land. So I'll just, I gathered some facts, and sometimes it just seems to feel that it comes across better if it rhymes, maybe or maybe not, but we'll see how we go. Thank you, Alan. He just told me to read it slowly. It's called An Ill Wind Blows No Good. The good old Aussie farmer is without peer, and that's the truth. Some might choose to argue, but the pudding holds the proof. Governments give them nothing except a bit post-flood or drought. Squeaky wheels get the attention while the farmer toughs it out. More dangerous than the weather, they battle government decisions that truly challenge logic, well, except the politicians. The live cattle export ban, what were they thinking there? Allowing imports willy-nilly, it's like they just don't care. Desalination plants, billions down the drain, just because some boffin said it wouldn't rain again. They could have spent that cash on dams or to farm wet season water and give a little hope to the farmers' sons and daughters, but they don't know how to budget and they don't know how to plan. There's no vision for the future. Politics is just a scam where you lie to get in power, then keep on lying when you do, hang in for a decade and get a lifelong pension too. Look, they ain't all rotten apples, as we've seen here. They ain't all rotten apples, but geez, the stench is hard to cop. And you don't need a crystal ball to know it starts right at the top. So when they start preaching green, you know they're really talking cash. Forget the carbon footprint. What they're leaving is a rash that will mutate to a cancer if they keep bowing down to greed. And it's plain to everyone that common sense is what we need. If coal seam gas is safe, let's see some guarantees. Otherwise, get your poison spikes out of our water table, please. Think Exxon Valdez or the Gulf of Mexico. It's just too big a risk, so the poison spikes must go. Bass Strait has still got plenty. There's lots of gas to go around. We can't risk the CSG if the process isn't sound. Which brings us to the wind farms. Green power, so they say, but it's just another con job at the back end of the day. A ruse to recoup millions corporations have outlaid for a dodgy power source that just doesn't make the grade. You still need a backup system when the wind gets sick of blowing, and it's either gas or coal to keep the system going. So the so-called carbon credits don't add up to much, but they sell them for a fortune, so someone's getting touched. And sure as hell it's you and me. Our wallets fund the scheme, while the wind turbine brigade, they sit back and live the dream. Well, there was no blind eye being turned by Albie Schultz. Now, here's a bloke who wasn't being fooled by the mirrors or the smoke. He stood with them toe to toe, called them at their game, and when they finally tell the truth, well, they'll hang their heads in shame. Government-funded fraud, while they masquerade as green, they can't survive without the subsidies. This goes way beyond obscene. $10 billion plus is what they've promised these pretenders, and that's just in the next 5 years, and you know there's more on the agenda. all for a thing that doesn't work. One of the dumbest plans on earth. The power that it generates costs way more than it's worth. But they're not just burning dollars, the environment suffers too. There are a heap of bloody things that they're just not telling you. Those 60-metre blades, they can't be broken down. So they're encased in concrete coffins and buried underground. And you can't ignore the facts, they're ugly, a blight on every farm, and they lie right to your face and say they don't do any harm. Well, tell that to the birds who get slaughtered every day, or the bats whose lungs explode from the sound and pressure waves. With the birds all dead or gone, the insects have a ball. Where are the impact studies? Were there any done at all? Or were they done by those whose funding comes from government allocations, so they bodge the results and join in the celebrations? The scientists keep their funding, the pollies get their dirty bucks, and we're left to hold the baby. Well, I'm sorry, but that sucks. And you can't ignore wind turbine syndrome. It's making people sick, headaches, nausea, tinnitus. These folks aren't playing tricks. They don't like seeing doctors. It's hard to get them in the car. So if farmers say they're crook, well, you know they bloody are. And it's causing splits in families and neighbours having blues. You've got the ones who take the cash, and you can't blame them if they do. A huge boost to pay the mortgage, but it's a decision based on fraud. And sadly, they'll find out the risk far outweighs the reward. See, they're swapping health for wealth, and it's a dangerous game to play. Can't afford to leave, but then they can't afford to stay. If they do get crook and then get stuffed by farm devaluation, will the wind turbine brigade offer any compensation? Well, we know the answer is no. There's no way that they care. So we need the people we elected to stand up and do what's fair. Enough of all the bullshit. Stop treating us like fools. We watch you prostitute yourselves to let people break the rules. Well, the line has now been drawn. This is it, no ifs or buts. Put all the spin away. It's now time to show some guts. Throw your hands up in the air and admit that you've been wrong, or the crap we've had to wear has gone on way too long. So let's stop all the subterfuge. Wind turbines are a farce. Giant bloody fire traps, huge pains in the arse. Killing birds and killing bats and making people ill. Humongous ugly money pits, and we're left to pay the bill. We've laid the facts out on the table. If we're wrong, then show us how. And when you own up to the truth, then the time to act is now. Reclaim your integrity. Stand up and join the fight. Look into your hearts and just do what's bloody right. Nothing's set in stone. You know it's not too late. So front the turbine people and just say, it's over, mate. The dollars just aren't worth it. That's the way it's always been. Because those wind farms, they ain't pretty and they sure ain't bloody green. Thank you.